We are back with Republican U.S. Senate candidate Christopher Shays and current columnist Rick Green. You know, I've been intrigued over the past year, especially watching the presidential race, and there's been this whole debate over who is a real Republican, what is a real Republican. Rick Santorum is, no Mitt Romney is, no Newt Gingrich is, and I'm wondering what your definition of a real Republican is.
Well, first off, Connecticut Republicans aren't Mississippi Republicans. We're not Texas Republicans. We're not Florida Republicans. We are Yankees. I mean, we have this Yankee ingenuity. We have this sense of common sense. We're not into ideology. What we're into is being practical. You know, you look at the two folks that signed the Constitution of the United States from Connecticut, William Samuel Johnson. I'm actually his my campaign headquarters is his former home. And you have Roger Sherman. I mean, these are folks who brought people together, and we have this magnificent document that everybody loves, and then Republicans say, but we can have no compromise. That was a document filled with compromise. So what's a real Republican? It's an easy question to answer. It's someone who believes in a free market. They believe in democracy, and when you put them together with the Yankee ingenuity that we have, you have the American dream. That's a Republican to me. Other issues, somebody could be pro-choice, somebody might not be, pro-life. That doesn't define who a Republican is.
But assuming you were elected, you'd be walking into a Congress where that type of Republican might as well be Bernie Sanders from Vermont.
Oh, boy.
I mean, the Republicans in Congress aren't like that. Well, the ones in power and control.
I don't know Republican like Bernie Sanders, so I mean that's.
But in terms of being out of the loop.
Well, you know what? I was in Washington for 21 years. I was never out of the loop. I was in the thick of every battle, balancing the budget, focused on welfare reform, all those issues, getting Congress under all the laws that we impose the rest of the nation. Time and again, I was in the center of these debates as a Republican with my Republican Party.
But look at what the comments of, say, Olympia Snowe or Dick Lugar, who are leaving in some frustration over the lack of common ground.
Well, I love both of them, and they were tremendous and are tremendous legislators. I admire them. Admire. I respect them tremendously. But the bottom line is, if I were there right now, I would be going every day to the Senate floor asking Harry Reid when the Democratic majority is going to pass a budget and fulfill their responsibility so they have a budget to negotiate with the House. We're seeing the House negotiate with the Senate. It hasn't passed a budget. So, you know, I'm not going to be sitting on the sideline, and I know I'd be a new member. And somebody might say, you know, you don't do that in the Senate. And my response would be, I don't care. You know, we're losing the American dream because we have leaders who aren't leading.
You mentioned several times now about the American dream, about how your parents said that your life would be better than theirs.
And they were right.
And your children's life would be better than yours. Were they right about that?
Well, you know what? My daughter has gone on to graduate school and had lots of opportunities, but my dad never went to college. Excuse me, he went to college and quit to go into acting. My mom never went to college. Their dream for their children was that all four of their boys would go on to college and do things that were important and give them the flexibility because of their education. So yes, you know, I've lived that dream. You know, one of the things I see Linda McMahon talking about her story. It's a great story. But all of us have great stories. Some people want to grow up and be teachers, and they're teachers. Some people want to be a news anchor or a columnist, have their own TV show. You've lived the American dream just like she has and just like me, and it's not about accumulating wealth.
You mentioned education. Gridlock right now over this issue of student loans and the jump in interest rate that's going to start on July 1st unless they agree on a plan to subsidize it further. Republicans recently rejected a Democrat plan. How does Chris Shays bring people together on that? Or is it just more? Well,
first off, I would be saying, Senate, pass a budget.
Yeah.
Why are we deciding how to spend money and cut taxes and do all these things when the Senate doesn't have a blueprint for what they want? So my first comment to the Senate is, do your job, pass a budget, and then we'll talk about these important things like student loans.
You've mentioned that you would support lowering taxes, that you see that as a real stimulus, and that it would eliminate many, if not all, write-offs. Because that's...
Well, that's how you pay for it. In a static model, if you're going to reduce the tax rate to 25, 15, and 10, you're going to pay for it in a static model by getting rid of the write-offs. The only area where I don't sense that we have to so-called pay for it is reducing the corporate rate from 35 to 15. We want to bring in money to the United States. We want to create manufacturing jobs. And the way you do it is you bring capital in. We've chased it away with a 35% rate, which is what we're doing in this state. You know, when you tax wealth, it flees. When you tax jobs, they don't grow. Now, you can cut taxes too much, and that wouldn't make sense. But there are some taxes when you cut, you get more revenue. Absolutely convinced if you reduce the capital gains, you get more revenue.
So the guy who stands to make money off capital gains, he'd benefit, but say me with a mortgage who gets a huge deduction on my taxes because of the interest, I'd have to pay more?
Well,
how is that fair? I don't get that.
There are two areas. First off, I would lower the mortgage deduction to $500,000.
Okay.
Reduce it from $1 million, and I don't know if you mortgage.
No, I'm
more.
not.
Okay.
It's not more.
So I would do that.
Okay. All right. That's a good
answer. But you know what?
answer.
Who owns corporations?
Yeah.
It's college institutions. It's retirement funds. Labor unions own so much of corporate America. So they would see significant increase in their portfolio. The interest rate, the dividends tax would go up from 15 to 25 because we've lowered the corporate rate. They would still benefit significantly.
I want to get to this before we run out of time, because I've heard you talk a lot about natural gas. And I have to say that all the stories that I hear when you talk about fracking and the risk of contamination, I mean, those are scary to me when I hear that.
You know what's scary to me? When you had 3 Mile Island, you didn't have nuclear power for 30 years. When we have some major event like the horrific thing that happened in the Gulf, then we chased away the drilling rigs. We are America with an American dream because of our incredible industrialness, our hard work, our technology, and our resources. And we should be using our resources. Why are we trying to get the resources of other countries when we have it right here? We have 100 years of natural gas. It's far cleaner than coal. It's 10 times cleaner than oil. It will be cheaper, and you will see a return of manufacturing to this country because energy costs for manufacturing will go down. And you know what? We solve a lot of problems with it. Fracking takes place way down deep. You need government regulations to make sure it's done right. You're going to see a return of some real steel production in this country just to be able to take advantage of natural gas.
Rick, I'll let you have the last question.
My last question is, it seems like Chris Murphy is going to be the Democrat running. Why is Chris Shays the best Republican to run against him when Linda seems to represent something different, something fresh? And isn't that what we need in Washington? A businesswoman who wasn't part of the whole political scene.
How much time,
that's a campaign commercial here.
Do I have?
Just
30 seconds.
Oh, give me more than that. The bottom line is this. Chris Murphy votes 97% of the time with Nancy Pelosi. It's an extreme agenda. I vote about 2/3 with my own party. I voted to cut spending, to cut taxes. I've done things that he goes in the opposite direction. He wants more spending and he wants more taxes. So we have some big differences. I happen to be almost in a dead heat with him, and Linda McMahon is 15 points behind. I have the experience of 21 years. I mean this with all sincerity. I believe I've been prepared for this moment. I have the experience to get the job done. I've done it in the past, and I can do it now.
Okay. Christopher Shays, thanks for being here. I appreciate your time. Rick, I appreciate yours as well.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Up next, the push to protect victims of abuse is heating up in D.C., and Connecticut advocates are heading there to help out.